Hi, this is Hip Mobility 2. It's the second in a little series of 3 videos that are addressing movement in the hips, and it's a request that was made from one of my students. So we're going to start seated, cross-legged, and we're going to find some circles. So as you circle, just feeling into those sitting bones, the ischial tuberosities, and we're kind of, rotating around and coming in contact with different parts of the surface of those bones. And then finding the circling in the other direction. And let's change the cross of the legs. And again, circle. So also just letting your awareness kind of rest on how the hips are feeling right now. Opposite direction. We'll come back to this same motion at the end of the video and just see if we've been able to create any change, any more ease, find ease in the hips. So let's start by coming onto the back and finding a figure 4. So crossing right leg over left. And I'm going to start by just gently pressing into that inner right thigh and creating a little pulse there. So just easing our way into the hip. I'm finding a little mobility here, creating more lubrication in those tissues. And then let's thread our hands through, taking the left thigh and draw that figure 4 in towards the chest any amount. Here again, you can play with a little pulse, just easing into the practice. Beautiful. And then left foot finds the ground. We're going to take this whole little package, keep it as it is, but tip it over to the left. So right foot finds the ground, and then we're going to reach the right arm up and find the right wrist with the left hand. Just gently traction that out. So you may be able to feel a nice stretch in all of that connective tissue, including, of course, in the outside of that hip. And then we'll release that, bring that up and switch it out. So left leg finds the figure 4, and I'm going to find those little pulses here. So just pressing into the inner upper thigh, left thigh with the left hand. And then threading the hands through and finding that figure 4. Again, just little pulses, drawing that little figure 4 in towards the torso, any amount. And then right foot will find the floor, and I bring this little package over towards the right. So you can see left foot is on the floor, left arm up overhead. I'm going to find that left wrist with the right hand and just traction that out. I can feel that in the hip flexors as well. Beautiful stretch here. Enjoying one more breath here. And then let's release into a counter pose. So just crawling the feet wider, about as wide as your mat. Let the knees fall in. I'm going to settle my hands on the lower abdomen, close my eyes, and just release into that gentle internal rotation of the hips. You might sigh it out. Beautiful. Okay, so from there, I'm going to find my way up to sitting and find a figure 4 here. So crossing right leg over, And this time I'm going to ease deeper into that external rotation by bringing my torso towards the leg instead of the leg towards the torso. So just pressing it on in, feeling that out. And let's switch the legs, left leg crossed over, pressing torso towards legs. One more time. Nice. Okay, 2 feet flat, hands just behind the hips. And so hips are in that neutral parallel position now, and I'm going to lift the hips up, so finding some extension in the hips, and then down and finding some flexion. Let's do that again. You can do exactly that or follow me into something a little different, lifting the hips up, and then on the exhale we'll just slide them back and straighten the knees. So inhale up, either stopping here or sliding back. Inhale, exhale, and again, inhale, exhale, and stopping here. So let's just release the wrists a little bit, and you can repeat that or find the same thing with our figure 4. So inhale, lifting the hips in our figure 4. Exhale, you can stop right here or slide it on back. So inhale and exhale, sliding back. Inhale, extension, exhale, flexion. One more time, inhale and exhale. And let's release the wrists and take it on the other side. So crossing left leg over, inhale it up, exhale stopping here or sliding on back. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last one, inhale and exhale. Nice, and we'll release out of that. Let's lie it down again and we'll find a happy baby pose, half happy baby. So big stretch first, exhale, drawing that right knee into the chest, and then keeping that left leg reaching out, I'm going to try to bring that knee down towards the ground. So as I apply pressure in this direction, I'm at the same time going to press up into my hands. So that counter action, it's subtle, right? So we're not like fighting with ourselves, but just creating that dynamic tension that it feels alive. It can be a very sweet sensation. And let's release that. Find that big full body stretch. Inhale. Exhale, drawing left leg into the chest this time. And reaching out through the right leg, bending the left knee, drawing it towards the ground, but at the same time pressing up against the hands. Just gently finding that dynamic balance. Breathing here. Beautiful. Let's let that go and find a little counter pose. So walking the feet wide, allowing the knees just to fall in the belly and just close the eyes. Find a few breaths here. Releasing that work, releasing into this internal rotation of the hips. Beautiful. Okay, so from here, we're going to swing it on up and back into a downward facing dog. Sweep that right leg up, bend the knee, open the hip out to the side. And then on the exhale, I'll draw that bent knee into the chest, and I'm going to step it on forward and find a pigeon. So my right knee is at right angles here, and I'm going to start by leaning towards the right. So this draws me out of that rotation. There's a little bit of a release there, and then I can pulse back into the rotation and kind of play with that, seeing where your hip's at, where it feels happy. So if your hip is happy with the torso being erect here, then you might stretch out that left foot and maybe find your way down to the mat. Finding the breath, and at any point, you can re-invite that little pulsation, just moving in and out of that rotation. Beautiful. Let's climb our way out. So hands are flat, plant them, and we'll step it back to our downward facing dog. And then once again, sweeping that right leg up, bending the knee, opening the hip, and letting the foot find the ground again, sweeping left leg up, bending the knee, opening the hip. Exhale, drawing the left knee into the torso, stepping it forward, and finding your pigeon. So leaning to the left and back in, finding that pulse, nice little massage also of the outside of the left hip. And then maybe if that's feeling good, we can stretch the right foot back and crawl our way to the ground, bowing in. And then let's all crawl our way back out, planting the hands and easing back into downward facing dog. Sweeping that left leg up and bending the knee, opening the hip, bringing the foot back down, stretching back into that dog, and then knees land, big toes come together, and let's sweep the arms back and find our way into a child's pose. So just releasing into the ground. You can sway the hips side to side, find a little motion there, and then settling, releasing that work. And on the next inhale, let's crawl our way out of our child's pose and just reach those hands out and create a little motion side to side. Once again, just feeling into that luscious hip movement side to side. And then we're going to come back to our cross-legged position where we started. Just checking in with that same motions of finding the circling and seeing if you feel a little bit of a difference, if there's a bit more ease in the hips since we've taken them through this practice. Reversing that circling and finding the opposite cross of the legs. one direction, and just letting the head kind of go with that movement, circling in the other direction, changing direction. And finally, just kind of winding into that dynamic still place. Hands come together, thumbs rest on the sternum, bowing it in, listening to the breath, feeling the breath, the movement of the breath, feeling the beating of the heart. In gratitude for the time and the place to practice. Namaste.